a life-changing encounter. Zach Orion was unlike anyone else aboard Nexus Station. At 12 years old, he was not only the youngest resident of this sprawling hub of galactic trade and diplomacy, but also the only human. The station, a marvel of engineering, floated serenely in orbit around a blue-green gas giant. Its towering spires, illuminated with neon lights in 1,000 colors, housed beings from all corners of the galaxy. Here, alien languages filled the air, and the sights and smells of countless cultures mingled to create a vibrant, chaotic harmony. Zach had spent his entire life on Nexus Station. His earliest memories were of the station's bustling central promenade, where towering Carthan traders bartered exotic goods alongside tiny, darting Kixari artisans. His parents, brilliant human scientists, had tragically died in a shuttle accident when he was just a baby. Left an orphan, Zach had been raised by the station's eclectic community. The stoic Rinthorian engineer Jathan taught him mechanics. The insectoid Xerxes shared their songs of ancestral wisdom, and the amphibious Melorans showed him how to swim through the station's gravity-shifting water tunnels. Then, their goddess, Janus, brought him back to life by keeping him company. Despite this rich upbringing, Zach often felt the absence of a family. He had friends, of course, but being the only human made him feel like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Still, he embraced his differences, exploring every corner of the station with boundless curiosity and a heart full of hope. One fateful day, as Zach ventured into the shadowy lower levels of Nexus Station, he stumbled upon a scene that would change his life forever. This part of the station was a stark contrast to the vibrant promenades above. The air was cooler, tinged with the metallic scent of old machinery. Dim, flickering lights cast long shadows along the narrow corridors, and the hum of the station's massive engines echoed in the background. In the corner of one such corridor, Zach noticed an elderly alien woman sitting against a wall. Her robes, once ornate, were now ragged and threadbare. Her lilac skin, marked with faint silver patterns, was dulled by grime. Her silver hair fell in tangled strands around her face. Yet, despite her disheveled appearance, there was an undeniable aura of grace about her. She sat with a dignity that seemed at odds with her surroundings, her piercing violet eyes scanning the corridor as if searching for something or someone. Zach hesitated. He had been warned by station authorities to avoid the lower levels, where drifters and outcasts often gathered. But something about the woman compelled him to approach. Summoning his courage, he stepped closer and spoke softly. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you all right? Do you need help?" The woman's gaze shifted to him, and for a moment, surprise flickered across her face. She studied him intently, her expression a mixture of curiosity and weariness. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and rough, carrying the weight of years. "A child? Here?" she murmured. "What brings you to these depths, little one?" Zach shrugged, offering a small, awkward smile. "I like exploring, and, well, you looked like you could use some company." The woman's lips twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "Company," she repeated, as if tasting the word. "It's been a long time since I've had that." Panting, reaching into his backpack, Zach pulled out the sandwich he had packed for lunch. Carefully, he tore it in half and extended one piece to her. "Here," he said. "You must be hungry." What? The woman hesitated, her pride battling with her need. At last, she accepted the offering with a nod of thanks. "You have a kind heart, child," she said, her voice softening. "Few would spare a thought for an old outcast like me." As they ate in silence, Zach found himself studying her more closely. There was something regal about her, a quiet strength beneath the weariness. He wanted to ask who she was, what had brought her to this lonely corner of the galaxy. But he held back, sensing that her story was not one she would share easily. What Zach couldn't have known was that he was sitting beside Queen Astera, the rightful ruler of the Zafiri people. Years earlier, she had been overthrown by a cunning usurper, her palace burned, her loyalists scattered across the stars. Forced into exile, Astera had wandered from one star system to another, hiding her identity and surviving as best she could. Nexus Station, with its teeming crowds and endless hiding places, had become her refuge. But even here, she lived in constant fear of discovery. Zach's small act of kindness, however, stirred something in Astera, a glimmer of hope she hadn't felt in years. Perhaps, she thought, her story wasn't over yet. An unlikely friendship. In the days that followed, Zach returned to the lower levels, bringing small gifts for the old woman. A warm blanket, a canteen of clean water, a datapad loaded with news from across the galaxy. Each time she accepted his offerings with quiet gratitude, and their conversations grew longer. Zach's youthful energy was infectious. He would regale her with tales of his adventures on the station, how he once outsmarted a malfunctioning cleaning droid, or how he snuck into the docking bays to watch ships from distant worlds arrive. One day, I'm going to visit those worlds, he told her with a grin. I want to see the stars up close, not just through a viewport. Astera listened, her heart warming despite herself. She began to share bits of her own knowledge, carefully avoiding details that might reveal her true identity. She told him of distant planets she had visited, of ancient cultures and their forgotten traditions. The galaxy is vast, Zach, she said, and it is both beautiful and cruel. Never lose your curiosity, but always tread carefully. Zach nodded, absorbing her words like a sponge. To him, she wasn't just an old woman. She was a mentor, a fountain of wisdom in a world that often felt overwhelming. What neither of them realized at first was how much they were changing each other. Zach's compassion and innocence were rekindling a spark in Astera, a reminder of the leader she had once been. And Astera's guidance was shaping Zach into something more than an ordinary boy. She saw in him the potential for greatness, a rare blend of courage, empathy, and unshakable resolve. The hidden queen. As their bond deepened, the station's undercurrents of tension grew harder to ignore. Zach began to notice murmurs among the Zafiri refugees who lived in the station's shadowed corners. They spoke of their homeland with a mixture of longing and despair, cursing the tyrant who had seized power. One day, unable to contain his curiosity, Zach asked, Astera, do you know anything about the Zafiri? I keep hearing them talk about a rebellion. Are they really planning to fight back? Fritzolig, Astera's expression darkened. Rebellion, she said quietly. It's a word that carries great weight. My people have suffered much, but rising up against Morax is no simple task. He is ruthless, and his grip on our world is strong. I affirmed that with my firm grip, the balls would not fall from my hand. Upon seeing me, Morax started to rise, stiffened to a man, but paused, waiting for me to respond. Right weight, too much metal, he said. I looked at him with these open, shining eyes. It's almost more like a desert on the planet with nothing living. Why I wasn't looking? Why are you terrified of something that's happened before? She asked anxiously. Zach tilted his head, sensing there was more to her words. How do you know so much about them? For a long moment, Astera was silent. Then, with a heavy sigh, she met his gaze. Because I am one of them, Zach. I am Astera, the rightful queen of the Zafiri. Zafiri nodded. Oh, yes. And I can't find it, but Zach's eyes widened. The revelation hit him like a thunderbolt. The old woman he had befriended was royalty? When he finally found his voice, he said, Your Majesty, your secret is safe with me. And if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. Astera's lips curved into a faint smile. For the first time in years, she felt something close to hope. Thank you, Zach, she said. I believe the galaxy may hold a brighter future after all.